Live from WTVO Rockford and your home team. Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
A Rockford woman killed during an armed robbery is laid to rest. Peggy Anderson's loved ones say a final farewell.
And a woman loses everything she had in a Rockford storage unit. She says hers is just one of more than a dozen units broken into.
Plus, the State Line City launches a new effort targeting high crime areas. How you can get your hands on a free doorbell camera. Good evening, I'm Mimi Murphy.
And I'm Eric Wilson.
Family, friends, and State Line residents say their goodbyes to the woman killed at Pinnan Meat Market last week.
Services took place in Rockford for Peggy Anderson. Someone shot and killed Peggy during a robbery January 11th behind the North Court Street business. She was a longtime Pinnan's employee. Her visitation and funeral were at St. Peter's Cathedral. Pinnan's owners started a GoFundMe to raise money for Peggy's family. For more information on that GoFundMe, check out this story at mystateline.com. Police still have not found the man they say killed Anderson. 40-year-old William Jones is considered armed and dangerous. According to investigators, Jones shot Anderson in the chest, then stole her car and other belongings, including her cell phone. If you know where he is, call police. You can also leave information anonymously on the Tip 411 app.
A Rockford police officers arrested accused of battery. The Winnebago County State's attorney charged Frank Fabiani with 2 misdemeanors. In May of 2022, Fabiani was called to assist in the arrest of Eliza Jones. While Jones was handcuffed, Fabiano pushed Jones' head into a glass window, causing it to break. Jones sustained injuries to his head and shoulder. If convicted, Fabiani could face up to 1 year in jail and a fine of $2,500. Fabiani is on paid administrative leave from the department. Chief Carla Red says an internal investigation is underway and, quote, the Rockford Police Department's committed to accountability and transparency for the citizens we are sworn to serve and protect. While Rockford's mayor put out this statement saying, I'm disappointed in the actions of our officer. The citizen involved did not file a complaint. However, our internal processes worked. Regular review of body-worn camera footage successfully brought this incident to light.
Freeport Police hand out free doorbell cameras. We told you about the program a couple of weeks ago. The devices are now available. Police hope the tech helps make neighborhoods safe. The program's focusing on high crime areas. To qualify, you have to live within Empire Street to the south, Main Street and Lincoln Avenue to the north, Adams Avenue to the east, and West Avenue to the west. You also must have in-home Wi-Fi internet and sign an agreement to allow the police department to access any video footage. Pick up doorbells tomorrow morning at the police department on Exchange Street starting at 8. They are on a first-come, first-served basis.
A Rockford woman put all her belongings into storage, only to find out her unit was broken into and everything is gone.
Nikel Delgado talked with her today. Nikel, what does she say happened?
Eric, Mimi, she tells me she's never experienced anything like this before. Not only were things taken from her, but from her kids too.
I don't have nothing else. Like, me and my kids have nothing.
Inisha Cooper tells me putting her things in a storage unit here was the only option she had while she looks for a new place and life for her family.
I'm very devastated because I was robbed. I had so much more than what I had before. And to take from me, but you took from my kids as well.
Red Dot Storage texted and emailed Cooper telling her the unit was one of 20 broken into, so she had her daughter go check it out. She says she found the lock was gone and nothing inside.
People out there are vultures and they will take everything you have. It doesn't matter if it's in the storage unit or in your own place of residence. Be careful, because nobody have to go through this hurt.
Inisha says she's used the storage facility on Sandy Hollow before and never thought her things would be stolen from the secure location.
Like I said, by me going through them before and my things were safe, I would have thought that it would have been safe this time around too.
Cooper says everything that she worked hard for, all her sentimental things, are all now gone.
All my dreams that I had planned to do is just gone. Now I have to really start all over because they took everything.
I did reach out to Red Dot, but I have not heard back. Anisha and her family have to start over, and there is a GoFundMe link on this story at mystateline.com. Mimi?
All right, thanks, Nikel. The Rockford Symphony Orchestra has a new music director. Yaniv Attar is no stranger to music. He's the music director of the Pennsylvania Chamber Orchestra, the Bellingham Symphony Orchestra, and artistic partner with Northwest Sinfonetta. A native of Israel, Attar is classical guitarist. He lives in Washington with his wife and 2 children. The RSO has been looking for a new director since the retirement of Stephen Larson in 2019. Attar visited Rockford last January. His first concert with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra will be this fall. Eyewitness News once again needs your help to support a Rockford nonprofit that rebuilds people's lives.
1 week from tonight is our annual An Evening for Hope telethon. It raises money for Rockford Rescue Mission. You can watch live right here on WTVO from 7 until 9. The Rescue Mission provides shelter, meals, and other services for some of the most vulnerable people in our community.
The U.S. government hit its debt limit, triggering the use of special tools to keep paying its bills.
Coming up, the measures leaders are taking to avoid an economic crisis.
Temperatures have remained pretty mild today, but rain is now switched over to snow in many spots. We are going to remain dry for the day tomorrow, but once again, snow chances work their way in this weekend. Find out exactly when those flakes will be flying coming up in just a few minutes.
You're watching Eyewitness News, your home team with Eric Wilson, Mimi Murphy, Scott Leber, and meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
The Treasury Department is trying to buy Congress and the White House more time as the countdown toward a possible government default officially began today.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said in a new letter to congressional leaders she's now taking, quote, extraordinary measures to avoid a potential economic crisis. Washington correspondent Jesse Tenor reports on the debt ceiling debate.
The U.S. officially hit its debt limit Thursday, but President Biden and House Republicans are no closer to reaching a deal.
There will not be any negotiations over the debt ceiling.
I think it's a sign of arrogance if you would say he wouldn't even discuss it.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy wants massive spending cuts in exchange for raising the nation's $31.4 trillion debt ceiling.
It should not be used as a political football.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen started to buy the White House and Congress more time Thursday by temporarily suspending payments to federal employees' retirement and health care funds. Yellen told congressional leaders these maneuvers should keep the government open until June. But if Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling by then, the U.S. won't be able to pay for things like military salaries, Social Security benefits, and food safety inspections. Economists warn a default could also lead to a global financial crisis.
That's a worst case scenario, but it's certainly, why would we want to take that risk?
George Washington University professor Joseph Cordes said both sides are playing politics.
I've got to believe at some point that, the White House is also going to come up with some options.
Until then, Cordes said he's closely watching House Republicans, particularly more moderate lawmakers.
A lot can happen in 6 months.
In Washington, I'm Jesse Tenor.
American citizens have a new way to help refugees adjust to a new life in the U.S. The State Department launched a program called the Welcome Corps. It wants to match 5,000 refugees with up to 10,000 Americans during the first year of the initiative. The department's traditionally worked with nonprofits, but this initiative will allow 5 or more Americans to form a group and fill this role as well. Participants would be responsible for raising their own money to help the refugees during their first 90 days in the country. This includes finding places to live and enrolling kids in school. Legendary singer David Crosby has died. Crosby was a founding member of 2 popular and influential 60s rock bands, the Byrds and Crosby, Stills and Nash. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. Crosby's family says he died after a battle with a long illness. Relatives add his legacy will live on through his music. David Crosby was 81 years old.
We've had a mix of rain and snow in the state line today.
Coming up, Jordan shows us after the snow leaves, it's a lot of the same for the next week or so. That's all next.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
The transition from rain to snow has been taking place over the last few hours, but we did wake up to a very wet situation for many of us here across the state line. Some spots ended up seeing close to 1/10 of an inch or more of rainfall, including 0.14 inches of rain in Rockford. Some other spots a little bit further to the north and northwest ended up seeing lower totals as far as rain was concerned, but that's where they ended up seeing the higher totals from snowfall. Even further to the northwest, some spots got over 4 inches of snow, really not too far away from us, but the most that we ended up seeing anywhere here in the state line was anywhere from a trace to about 1 inch. Now, as we get the rest of the evening tonight, that transition from rain to snow has been taking place. We're not looking at anything as far as accumulation is concerned. Because surface temperatures have been warm over the last few hours and are still warm even into the evening tonight. But we are still looking at a very wet situation with a couple of flakes mixed in with our SkyTrack cameras looking across the state line. Satellite and radar still remaining very colorful as we get that transition from the green, as far as rain was concerned, over to blue. Not really a whole lot of mixed precipitation in between, but definitely could see that rain and snow transition taking place, with many spots now seeing mostly snow. Temperatures are still continuing to fall, with many spots a little bit further to the north and northwest, down in the 20s. That's kind of where we're going to fall throughout the evening tonight, with that low pressure system now moving to the east. That's what's shifting the wind speeds and those wind directions. Wind speeds now picking up in many spots, anywhere from around 15, even close to 20 miles per hour, with those wind directions now coming out of the west to northwest. The rest of the evening tonight, temperatures do continue to fall from the mid-30s where they are now, all the way down into the upper 20s during the overnight hours tonight. Officially 27 degrees here in Rockford. Still mostly cloudy skies with a few flurries, at least into the early part of the overnight hours. We are dry for most of the day tomorrow, however. Temperatures only getting back up to that freezing mark. We still hold on to mostly cloudy skies and winds that could gust right around 25 miles an hour out of the west-northwest. That continues to remain the case overnight tonight with those gustier winds. That continues into the day tomorrow before we eventually calm those winds down into late Friday night into the early part of Saturday. Futurecast, though, does keep the flurries around a little bit longer, still hovering in the area with some decreasing coverage through the next few hours into the overnight. Right around midnight tonight, we still could have a flurry or two, but the majority of them will have continued to push off out of the area, with a little bit of clearing working in later into the day tomorrow. Temperatures really don't fall too far. We remain fairly close to where we are at the moment and in the low 30s over the next few days. But winds shifting back out of the southwest into Saturday will be ahead of our next weather system that'll bring us yet another chance for snowfall. That does come in as we get late into Saturday into the early part of Sunday, with this system beginning to work its way closer and closer to the area. Once again, we're not looking at a whole lot of accumulation occurring, but some light accumulations are possible with that late Saturday night into the day on Sunday. Some slick spots also possible during that time. Temperatures in the meantime are remaining pretty close to normal, just a few degrees above, right around the low 30s into the mid-30s by the time we get into the early part of next week. Then we have to talk about temperatures not only holding steady for this time, but that chance for snow Saturday night going into Sunday. Once again, though, toward the middle part of next week, guys, we have to talk about yet another chance for snow. Temperatures beyond this looking a little bit cooler toward the end of the week.
We have been above normal for quite a stretch, so it's pretty obvious that at some point the pendulum would have to swing the other way.
Yeah, we're so lacking snow. It's time.
That's true. Thanks, Jordan.
Scott's in next with sports. The Bulls were on one very long road trip today to France. Scott will show us how they did in their game there.
And the Fighting Illini will try to extend their Big Ten winning streak this evening as the Hoosiers invade Champaign.
Now sports with sports director Scott Leber.
Folks in France got introduced to Chicago Bulls basketball today, and if this was the only game they'd seen the Bulls play all season, they probably felt like they were watching the NBA champions. The Bulls look strong against the Pistons in this game in Paris. Joakim Noah in the house. DeMar DeRozan, after missing 3 games, did not look rusty. He goes in strong. He scored 26 points with 9 rebounds. This is how the alley-oop is done in France. Goran Dragic to Derrick Jones Jr. Zach LaVine was amped for international play. He hammers through 2 of his 30 points. The Bulls won 126-108. In Champaign, the Illini and the Hoosiers will go at it tonight. The Hoosiers sitting at 2-4 in Big Ten play. The Illini are 4-3 and looking for their 5th straight conference win.
Indiana obviously picked to win the league. They've had a little bit of an up and down year. They do have the best player in the league, as voted on in the preseason, and Trace, he's having a phenomenal year. So we're going to have to play extremely well. A team that protects the rim extremely well, does a great job blocking shots. We'll have to be dialed in.
The Blackhawks are also going to be busy tonight. They will face the Flyers in Philly. Well, Live Golf has a huge victory today. The upstart league and rival to the PGA Tour has its first TV rights and streaming deal. It's with the CW network. All 14 Live events this year will be shown on the network during the Saturday and Sunday rounds. The CW app will provide coverage of the Friday rounds. This deal ensures that Live will get some much-needed eyes on its events, giving it more leverage against the PGA Tour. The CW is primarily owned by Nexstar Media Group. Nexstar owns TV stations throughout the country, including our Fox 39. That's sports. We'll be right back.
Jordan will have a final look at weather in just a moment.
First, Dan Abrams has a News Nation preview.
Tonight on Dan Abrams Live. Live Golf makes a major announcement. I'm talking about it with Greg Norman, the face of Live Golf. And I'll ask about some of the controversy as well. That's tonight on Dan Abrams Live.
That is all coming up on the cable and satellite stations you see here on the left of your screen. You can also head to newsnation.com.
Well, your radar earlier had some green on it, but starting to turn over to blue.
Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see any snow on the roads. Well, actually,
we don't really
need. You see the disappointment in Mimi's face?
I know.
Not about the snow on the roads, but just snow in general.
Snow in general. We have been really, really lacking in snow. I just looked up the numbers, and we were about 6 inches short in snow for the month of December, and we haven't really seen hardly anything as we get into the month of January. So we are running behind the 8 ball as far as snowfall is concerned so far this season. And our chances not really looking too good for any major accumulating snowfall, at least in the short term. As I mentioned earlier, the temperatures are a little bit on the warmer side, so we're not going to see any accumulation on the roadways tonight. We could see maybe a very small dusting on some elevated areas, the First Warn Interactive Radar from Rockford Auto Glass and more. The temperatures are remaining pretty close to that freezing mark. That's still above normal for this time of year over the next few days. We have another chance for snow coming in late Saturday into the part of Sunday. Temperatures a little bit warmer, another chance for snow toward the middle of next week.
Thanks, Jordan.
And thank you for spending some time with us. Stay safe.